Now, before we begin, I just want to say something real quick. The title of this video shown right here says Minecraft Dungeons Echoing Void Blender Rig Pack. Now, quick question. Does the word add-on appear in this title? No? Well, if it does or doesn't, does that mean I'm making add-ons? Well, of course not. But you see, some people seem to think that I am making add-ons when it clearly says Rig Pack. So stop asking, please. Please, it's driving me crazy. So as I begin to return to my normal and vaguely calm demeanor, let's get into today's video. Hey guys, it's Zombrine, and welcome back to another video where today, I do it again. I go over a spontaneous Blender rig pack that I have created for no other reason other than me being bored. And honestly, why not? As far as I am concerned, I am the only one making these, or at the very least making them public. For all I know, there could be millions of these in secret as we speak. And under no circumstances do I consider myself a professional rigger, because I'm not. I'm better at the whole animating thing. But at the very least, I do have some experience, which is why I urge you guys to tell me about any issues you may have with my rig packs so that I can eventually update them in post. Wait, what was I saying? Oh yeah, today we will be talking about my most recent rig pack that I have been working on called the Minecraft Dungeons Echoing Void Blender Rig Pack. This rig pack contains 4 mobs from the Minecraft Dungeons Echoing Void DLC that each have, you guessed it, variants. But unlike my outvoted rig pack, they won't be skin variants. Cause I'll be real, I don't know where to start on redesigning these guys. But that's something I'll talk about much later. In this video, I'm going to give you a brief history or lore snippet on each mob, maybe a few interesting facts here and there, and the review of each mob in its glory. Now, without further ado, let's talk about the Enderman. When a pair of stray Endermen find the last piece of the Orb of Dominance, they seek passage through an abandoned stronghold and return to the end. They are relatively smart, and once they get through, they want to make sure that nothing else can. And so comes the Enderman. 6 of these creatures in total are here to collect the Eyes of Ender from the portal and scatter themselves around the overworld as we know it. From there, it is up to you, the player, to find these Endermen and collect their Eyes of Ender to reactivate the portal and put this nightmare to an end. Also, did you guys know that these things are like twice the size of Enderman? Freaking huge! That's like 6 blocks! In the game, when you fight these tall monsters, you'll find that they have a lot of health and this attack they charge that can really mess you up. I call it the Telesmash. In Blender, the Enderman rig is roughly 6 Minecraft blocks tall. His eyes by default are reminiscent of the ones from Minecraft Dungeons and can be changed by selecting the pupils or the eye whites mesh. He has a bendable torso and legs for posability, unlike his Dungeons counterpart, who only has bendable arms, which this guy has as well. He has a separate rig for his face with eyelids that can move, but not rotate. He has IK, or inverse kinematics, for his feet in case you want to animate this guy walking. And something else I have given this guy are these switches right here. Yep, that's right. Drivers! What these drivers do is switch on and off the inverse kinematics option for their arms. Also, quick note, do you have any idea what kind of a headache it is learning these simple drivers? It wasn't fun, it hurt, but I was determined. I have also started making pre-made pose libraries for each mob based on some of their actions in the game, exclusively for the Enderman and Snare Lanes. Though I should point out that the arm poses only work when the IK is turned off. In the outliner menu, if you find Eye of Ender and turn everything on, the Ender Scent will now have an Eye of Ender on its torso, like the ones from the game. I do advise, however, that you do not bend his torso with Eye of Ender enabled, as jank begins to kick in 80%. The Ender Scent comes with 2 variations, but I feel I should get into a bit more detail before I show them off. You see, when it comes to Minecraft animation, there are 2 styles that stand out. And what I mean by that is that there are more than one ways to animate Minecraft stuff. It's just that these 2 are more well known. There are official animations for update trailers, Minecraft Live, and dungeon cinematics, which have a unique look that I will just call Mojang style. And then there are the unofficial animations that many Minecraft animators like myself make that have a different look that has existed for much longer than Mojang style. I will refer to this one as fan-made style. When you put these styles side to side, there's a clear difference between the 2. For example, the Mojang style restricts body parts from bending and instead allows parts of the body to separate for creativity, versus the fan-made style that allows bending for more posability. The facial animations are, in my opinion, the biggest standouts for these styles. The Mojang style's facial animations are more pixely, linear, and instantaneous, which makes it more game accurate, versus the fan-made style, which allows for more flexible, expressive, and even fluid facial animations for a slightly more realistic look. Even though, I'll be honest, there's nothing realistic about Minecraft at all, and I love it. In the end, the Mojang style as a whole offers a more game-accurate look, and with its charm of classic Minecraft. The fan-made style, however, adds a more traditional look with bendable parts and flexible facial features. So why did I tell you all that? Well, because the Ender Scent and other Minecraft Dungeons mobs are animated with Mojang style. No surprise, since it's from the game itself. However, the one I just showed you was rigged for the traditional fan-made style, which is why the 2 variants for this and all the other mobs in this rig pack are the default variant, which is rigged for fan-made style, and the classic variant, which is rigged for Mojang style. Now you can choose between which style you want to animate with. Now let's move on to the first Enderling of the bunch, the Watchling. When you finally go to the end, you are greeted with forces that seek to hurt you solely due to your immense power. Some are familiar to you, and are there for their own sinister intentions, and some are watching from a distance, waiting for the opportune moment to catch you off guard. And what better seeker to face than one that can see you from all directions? Because like Mike Wazowski, this thing is made of 90% eye. When you fight these mobs in the game, they often teleport to you and start slapping you until you die. They are often found in groups and accompanied with endermites. And if you listen closely, you will hear the distorted sounds of a zombie. I don't know, I thought that was pretty neat. This guy is slightly shorter than the average Enderman, which is roughly 3 blocks tall. The Enderlings from here on out are rigged differently compared to the Ender Scent we just looked at. And the biggest standout is the lack of IK for the arms and no bendy torso. And that's for one reason, and one reason only. They are too short, and also just too wide for a bendy torso to even look good. There are a few other reasons why I shot down the idea of bendy torsos for the Enderlings, but we'll get to that eventually. He has bendable arms and legs as we should expect, IK for the legs, and a relatively simple armature setup at first glance. I didn't make a pose library for him because he's a pretty basic enemy in the game, with no unique ability other than just teleporting and waddling at you. But that, my friends, was the easy part about this guy. You see, I personally consider the Watchling to be one of the hardest to make in this pack, and it's all because of the dang eyes. When I make stuff for dungeons, I go to either the actual game, cinematics, or even the teasers just to get an understanding of how they work. Kinda like a wildlife researcher. Now, when I was watching this guy from a distance, I was hoping that his eyes didn't move, but then I remembered the artwork done for the Echoing Void DLC, and That's fine. As long as this thing doesn't blink, I think I'll be... I wasn't okay after that. You see, it may not be much of an issue at first glance, but you gotta understand something. This thing has eyes all over its body. Everywhere. Every corner of his head, his back, his front. I am never ever making these eyes posable whatsoever. So I tortured myself and made the eyes posable. Each and every eye has its own individual controller, can be scaled up or down, and have limited location so that they don't clip out of the body. And on each face of the body, where there are eyes, there is an eye-shaped bone in the middle that controls all of them at once, so that you don't have to control all of them individually if you just want them to look at a certain direction. This is also the main reason why I didn't make the torso bendy on this guy specifically. The torso bending would mess with the rigging and make his eyes go off the body, which is never good. Basically, imagine bending back, and the more you bend back, the more your eyes begin to touch your nose. So yeah, I have my reasons. The Watchling comes with two variations, the default variant and the classic variant. Now time for a cool one, the Snare Lane. Among the ranks of the Enderlings are the persistent yet mindless Watchlings that get as close as possible. They risk everything to get at you and ultimately fail. But what if there was one? One that knows when to strike. One that knows how to trap you. One with a shade of green. And once these guys have snared you into their trap, they begin to hammer you into the ground. I find it kind of funny that these guys are posed like R2-D2. I mean, look at that. In the game, he is 3 blocks tall like the Watchling. He likes keeping at a distance and shoots green slime at you. Once stuck, every snareling around you will start to bash you into the floor, and if you aren't careful or fast enough, you will be dead in seconds. In Blender, he has a non-bendy torso, arms that reach the floor, and a goo sack that sticks to his back that can be stretched. Funny enough, this neon green almost represents my back pain in school. I know I said earlier that there wasn't going to be a pose library for the Enderlings, but the Snareling was an exception. The Snareling has some pretty specific poses that I felt had to be implemented in some way. For instance, how he struts around like an astromech droid, and how he bashes people into oblivion, those of which are included in his pose library. Also, I feel as if I should mention how to apply poses before we continue any further. For 2.79 users, all you need to do is enter pose mode, select the bones by pressing A twice, head over to the armature data tab, or just the icon that looks like a dude, scroll down to the pose library, open the tab, select the pose of your choosing, and click the magnifying glass. For 2.91 users, it's exactly the same procedure. The only difference is the armature data dude is performing a Super Mario jump. Coming back to the Snareling rig, though he has movable eyelids, he doesn't have the pupils themselves, simply because Snarelings just don't have any at all for some reason. The Snareling comes with the 2 variations of default and classic variants respectively. Now for the final mob in this rig pack, the Blastling. On your way to the Broken Citadel, the diversity amongst the End's ranks are nearing their peak. The Endermen are predictable and familiar. The Enderscent lacks speed and numbers. The Watchlings aren't smart enough, and the Snarelings are often timid and watch as you progress. But one final class of Enderling will make itself known to you, as it shoots from afar with the same mystical purple energy that flickers and snaps from his very head. Also, be careful around these guys when they're enchanted. If even one of them has levitation shot, you can kiss a life or 2 goodbye. In the game, they are 3 blocks in height. Like the piglins in the Flames of the Nether DLC, they spam their projectile weapons until they die. Though they keep at a distance, they almost always end up shooting you. In Blender, they have the usual IK legs, non-bending torso, and beefy arms. Though there is something missing here. Can you guess? In the game footage, the Blastlings have purple fire coming out of their heads, but as you can see here, the fire is nowhere to be found. What's going on here? Let me start from the beginning. While searching for the textures for all the rigs, I dove into the Minecraft Dungeons files to extract what I could. On the way, I noticed that I was apparently missing the flame sequence on the Blastling's head. So naturally, I kept looking. But no matter how many folders I went into, the purple fire was nowhere to be seen. It was there that I slowly began to mentally deteriorate, as I was way too far into this to quit. So, I had to improvise. I went into the base Minecraft files to grab the fire sequence that was already there, took it to paint.net, and put it under a filter that would change the color of the fire from orange to purple. Once I did that, I chopped up the image into multiple frames, imported the sequence into Blender, and attached it onto the rig's head. That is how I went about the fire, but then where is it? Why can't I see the fire? It's because I turn off visibility for the viewport, simply because image sequences in Blender for objects usually turn purple, and I felt that would be hard to look at while animating or posing this guy, especially with how tall the object was. So even if you don't see it in the viewport, when you make that final render, you will see it as if it has always been there because it totally was. Last but not least, the Blastling comes with the 2 default and classic variants that we are to expect at this point. Well, there you have it. My second rig pack that I've made. I hope this turns out okay, as I felt pretty confident with my last one. Once again, if there are any issues with any of the rigs, be sure to tell me in the comment section below so that I can eventually update them. Also, I'm gonna take this opportunity to answer a question that has been bugging me for a little. Will you make Witherstorm Test 4? No. Thanks for watching, and have a good day, guys. See ya.